Hey everyone, it is Mike the Dad Nerd here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to install a WireGuard VPN on Unraid. Now for me, this is one of the easiest ways to get a VPN up and running in your home, and there's two primary reasons you would want to run a VPN. Number one is for privacy. When you're out and about, running a VPN tunnels all your traffic back to your home server, and it would make it appear like you're coming out of your house. And number two would be access to any of your local stuff that you run at home that you don't have accessible from outside on the internet. So anything that you self-host or any servers, if you actually want access to your Unraid server when you are not at home, would be another great reason to run the VPN. And it's really quick and easy to get up and going thanks to the addition of WireGuard to the community application store. So in Unraid, go to the apps tab for community applications. If you don't have this already, definitely go and Google that and get community applications added. It is by far one of the best additions to Unraid you will ever add. And then up here, just simply search WireGuard. And here, Dynamics WireGuard, this is the setting that you're going to add. So you're going to click the download button. I already have it installed, so it doesn't show for me. But when you click that, this is not a Docker, so it's not like a lot of the other things you would get from the App Store. So it's not going to go to the Docker tab. It's actually going to go to the Settings tab. So let's go over to the Settings tab and take a look. Okay, so now that we're over in the Settings tab, you're going to see that you have a new option under Network Services, and this is called the VPN Manager. And this is where we click into to set all of our settings for WireGuard. So when you get into WireGuard, you're going to want to add a tunnel. And here is where we're going to start building our tunnel. So we're going to give it a name. So we're just going to call this Test VPN for now. Put it whatever name you want. Now for local private key and local public key, it's great because it gives you actually the option to generate the key pair for you. So we're going to click Generate. And the local endpoint is going to be the IP address that you have for your home, your public IP. So one way to get this is just to open up a browser if you're in your home and go to what is my IP address. And it should come up and show you what your public IP address is, and you can plug that in. Now the only caveat to that is that most homes do not have a static IP, meaning that that IP address can change, especially if you were to reboot your modem. So to get around that, you can use a service like DuckDNS. If you just Google DuckDNS and Unraid, it is extremely easy to set up. You set up an account at duckdns.org, and then you run the Docker on Unraid. And what that does is it gives you a URL to plug into this spot here, and you can use that URL, plug it in, and then that way, in the DuckDNS service will always update with your latest IP address. So even if your IP address does change, DuckDNS will know that, and since you're using that URL, it will work. So if you don't have a URL already that points to your home, DuckDNS is a great way to get that done. So we're going to go ahead and click. We're going to actually open this up a little bit more. So this is best if used in IPv4 only. So if you do run IPv6, you can Google how to get those settings. We're going to pretend that you're just in IPv4 mode. And you really don't need to change anything else in these settings. I just want to kind of show you what those are going to look like. You can keep them in their defaults, and you're going to click Apply. So now we have this tunnel set up. So the next step, we're actually going to go over to the router, and I'm going to show you because you do need one port forward set up to make sure it works correctly. So we're going to take note of this port right here, 51821, and let's go over to my router and I can show you the entry I have for that port forward. This is my router setup. Now, all routers are different, but almost every single home router out there has the ability to go in and add a port forward. So if you're not using pfSense, you may need to go and Google and find out how to add a port forward, but it's relatively simple. So you'll see here, this is actually my entry for my WireGuard VPN. So I have it come in for any WAN address, the destination port. Now this is different than what I just showed you because this is for my active VPN that I have running. So this is why I told you to copy down that port that you need. So for my active VPN, it's 51820. For the one I just showed you, for the new VPN, it would have been 51821. Just make sure then that the IP address here is the IP address of your Unraid box. And obviously the same port that you copied over in the NAT ports that it's forwarding to. So all this is telling is, hey, when something comes in to your router, let's forward it. As long as it's trying to go to that port, let's forward it over to the Unraid box to the correct port so that the WireGuard VPN service can know what to do with it. So now your router is all configured and you should be good to go. You may need to reboot your router. Might be a good idea to make sure those settings are applied. Now that our router is all configured, we need to add peers. Think of peers as users for your VPN. I would suggest doing one of these for each device that you are going to set this up on. So if you have a phone and an iPad and a laptop, I would create a peer for each individual device. It just keeps it easy, and it also allows you to track which devices are connecting back to that VPN. But let's go in and add a peer, and let's give the peer a name. Let's pretend this is the Dad Nerd's phone. And peer type of access. There are a lot of different types of access that you can do. The one that I use is remote tunneled access. And the reason I use remote tunneled access is because it gives you two things. Number one, it's going to give you access to your LAN. So all the devices like we talked about earlier that you want to access that are in your home network, like your Unraid server and any other self-hosted items on your network, you're going to be able to access those. But because we chose remote tunneled access, that also means that all your traffic, your internet traffic that you're doing on your device, is actually going to be tunneled and sent through your VPN. Now, you may or may not want that, but from a privacy perspective, that is what I want. I want all my traffic going through my VPN, not just access traffic to local servers. This is the best for privacy. But if you are doing a lot of, high data intensive tasks, if you're consuming a lot of video or something remotely, you may not want all that traffic flowing back home, because remember, you're going to be limited by your upload and download speed of your home internet. So that may be an issue. But for me, that is probably the option that most of you are going to want to choose. And again, for the private key and public key, we can click generate key pair. It'll generate those for us. And then you're also going to want to generate a peer pre-shared key. That's a mouthful. It's sometimes hard to say. So we'll generate one of those as well, and we will click apply. So now you'll see we have our tunnel set up. We have our peer set up. Now, to get the peer's data to actually be able to be used, there are two ways to do that. So you're going to go and get the WireGuard client. If you just Google the WireGuard client, it's going to be different whether you're on Mac, Windows, or iPhone, or Android. So let's pretend we're going to do it on an iPhone. You would go to the App Store, you would get the WireGuard client, and the great part is if you go and click on this little eyeball over here next to your peer, it's going to pop up with your configuration that you are setting up, along with a QR code that you can scan. And in the WireGuard client, you can go ahead and just scan that QR code, and it'll automatically import that information and set it up as a VPN on your phone. Now, alternatively, if you are on a computer, either a Mac or a PC, you can click the download button, and that will give you the file that you need to import into your WireGuard client on your computer, and that will work as well. So whether you're on a mobile device and can do the QR code, or you're on a PC and need the download option, both of those get you up and running. So with all of that set up, you should be able to now access your home network remotely. What I like to do is I like to set this up on a phone and turn off Wi-Fi so that I'm on my cellular connection, and try and toggle on that VPN and see if I type in the IP address of my Unraid server, can I get to it? That's a pretty good test if it's working. And then obviously also check and see if you can access the internet. There may be some items that you need to add in. For example, the one thing you may need to do is actually go in and edit your DNS settings of that config file that it gives you for your phone or your PC. So if you are having trouble reaching the internet or reaching any of the other devices once you have connected, if it tells you it has connected to the VPN but you can't connect to anything else once you are connected, you may want to go in and plug in 1.1.1.1 as a DNS service, or Google's DNS services, whatever you want to use, if it doesn't pass along that DNS service back to your client. Alternatively, if you also do have your own DNS resolver, if you're running pfSense, for example, if you have your own DNS resolver, you can also pass along that IP address to the device to let it know to use that for DNS. I hope this helped you guys get WireGuard up and running easily on Unraid, and now you can be assured that you're running privately and you can connect back to all your vital services when you are away from home. If this did help you out, it would help me out if you hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe. We're here to help you guys with everything revolving tech, anything. We do a bunch of tech tutorials here, but until I see you guys next time, tech on.